Mom, can you please divorce Dad? It was 9 p.m. I was trying to put Zach to sleep. Just when I thought he was about to drift off, he suddenly asked that question. That short question left me stunned for a long minute. My hand patting on his back also froze. I felt a painful twinge in my chest. Over the years, my relationship with my child's father had been pretty good. Logically, a child nurtured by love should feel happy living in such an environment. And yet, why did he have such thoughts? Puzzled, I asked, "Why do you say that?" I softened my voice in case I unintentionally scared him. "You never let me eat fried chicken or ice cream." As he was almost asleep, his voice was unclear and tinged with the innocence typical of his age. I didn't know whether to feel amused or disappointed. To think that he wanted me to divorce his dad because of something so trivial. Children sure were naive. As I listened to his breathing gradually grow steady, I knew he had fallen asleep. I was about to get up and leave when, ding, a sound came from his bedside. I turned my head and saw a bright light from under his pillow. I lifted a corner of the pillow, only to sigh when I found a tablet hidden beneath it. Since he was still young, and I was worried he might develop myopia, I strictly limited his daily electronic devices' screen time. Although he often grumbled in protest, he had abided by my rules all along. I didn't think he would secretly hide the tablet today. I casually pulled out the tablet to turn it off. However, I stumbled upon a group chat page as the screen lit up. The group chat was named Happy Family, Smiley Face. At a glance, it was clearly Zach's style, as the emoji was one of his favorite expressions. The group profile picture looked like a family photo of four. I zoomed in on the profile picture. The woman in the photo carried 2 children in her arms, appearing cheerful and outgoing. One of them was my son, Zach Pierce. He held a big ice cream cone while wearing a satisfied smile. My husband, Shane Pierce, stood behind the woman. With soft, affectionate eyes, he gazed at the woman just like the way he used to look at me when we first fell in love. My heart felt as if it had been pricked by a needle. Despite the uncontrollable ache, I couldn't help looking at the woman's name saved on the phone. My son had actually saved her contact as Mom. I felt like I was struck by lightning. With trembling hands, I clicked into her profile. To my shock, her nickname was Moonlit Sky. Moon. Was this Luna Cider Shane's first love? I couldn't help finding how absurd this situation was. It felt like I was dreaming. My husband and son had formed a family group with my husband's first love and her child. They had built a new home with someone else. I was the only one left behind. It felt as if someone was gripping my heart tightly. I could barely breathe. There were so many messages in the group that my mind struggled to process them as my finger numbly scrolled up. The 3 of us also had a family group. However, aside from me occasionally sending messages asking Shane when he would come home for dinner, this group was silent as if it didn't exist. At that moment, the mom in the group suddenly sent a video. I shakily clicked on it. It was a carefully edited video. In just a minute, countless scenes flashed by. Fried chicken, soft drinks, Ferris wheel carousel. Zach's youthful face was filled with carefree joy. Even Shane, who wasn't good at showing emotions, couldn't hide his indulgence and affection any longer. I could barely focus on the other 2 anymore. The images gradually slowed down before the camera finally settled on Zach. Closing his eyes, he balled his fists and earnestly made a wish over a big cake. I heard him saying in his young and sincere voice, "I hope Ms. Luna becomes my mom. I wish the 4 of us could be together forever." Applause erupted. Luna and her child clapped together, wishing that Zach's dream would come true. Shane too had a smile on his face. They looked every bit like a happy family. But what about me? I was in so much pain that I could hardly breathe. The mom in the group sent another voice message. Her voice was cheerful and lively, like a warm older sister who unconditionally supported Zach. "Sweetie, you told me before that you wanted me to be your mom. You also said that anyone would do, as long as it wasn't your current mom. I was wondering why you dislike your mom so much. I later found out that it's because your mom is too controlling. There are a lot of things that she doesn't let you eat or play with. To help you grow up happily, I'll be your mom in this group from now on. This group chat is a home for our family of 4. Was that so? Anyone would do, as long as I wasn't his mom, huh? As though torturing myself, I let every word echo in my head. I replayed the message over and over, but I still couldn't believe it. My child, the one I gave birth to, the one I had carefully raised. The child I devoted all my energy to actually despised me so much. Even as I closed my eyes, the tears flowed uncontrollably. Zach had always had a sensitive stomach. Just a tiny bite of something his tummy didn't agree with could leave him sick. He had been hospitalized a few times since he was young due to gastroenteritis. That was why I had always controlled his diet, meticulously preparing various meals for him every day, hoping to help restore his health. Yet, to him, all my efforts for him had turned into cases of harm. No wonder Zach's gastroenteritis had flared up again recently. Despite how anxious I was, I couldn't find the reason. So this was it. I listened numbly to the voice messages Zach sent before. Each accusation against me felt like a sharp knife stabbing into my heart, nearly suffocating me. Zach suddenly stopped talking after that. I knew it was because I came to his room to tuck him in. He couldn't let me know he was still secretly using the tablet. Even if he wanted to continue chatting with Luna in the group, he could only go along with me. And now he was already asleep. I bit my lip, tears streaming down my face as I looked at him. My beautiful child, so exquisite like a doll. He spoke without any guile. He said whatever he felt. But lies didn't hurt as much as truths did. The truth was like a knife. I had always thought that as his mother, even if I was a little strict with him and he felt annoyed now, he would understand later that I did it for his own good. I never thought he could dislike me to this extent. I felt an overwhelming sadness and anger. But I was clear-headed. I understood that Zach was just a child. Like a blank piece of paper. He knew nothing and understood nothing. But for him to be so repulsed by me and to favor Luna, the only possible reason must be because of my husband, Shane. With the tablet in my hands, I left Zach's bedroom and headed straight for Shane's study. But I couldn't understand, out of everyone, why Luna? The first time I heard about Luna was at my wedding. Shane treated me well back then. When I was feeling down, he would tell me it was okay and that nobody was perfect. He would patiently stay with me until I felt better. When I got sick, he would drop everything to take care of me. Because of that, I resolutely decided to marry for love, even if that meant moving far away from home. Just as I was in a pure white wedding dress, holding a bouquet that signified purity and looking forward to our life together, I overheard his friends discussing his first love. I always thought Shane and Luna would end up together. They were so passionately in love back then. Exactly. They looked like a match made in heaven. What a pity. The regret in their voices was genuine. At that moment, I began to doubt whether Shane truly loved me. Just as I was about to ask Shane for clarification, I saw him approach his friends with a dark expression. I've told you countless times that I hated Luna. His voice was filled with anger I had never felt from him. If I didn't make myself clear before, I'm telling you now. If you mention her in front of me again, we're done. I felt reassured the moment I heard those words. It turned out he not only didn't love Luna, but he hated her. Now I was confused. Considering the circumstances, why would he bring our child to Luna after she came back? For the first time, I began to doubt my marriage I had always thought was happy. I didn't knock on the door as I usually would to show respect for Shane. Instead, I immediately pushed open the study door. Shane was focused on his work. Only when he heard the door open did he slowly turn around. When he saw it was me, he quickly put down his work, stood up and walked toward me. Honey, what's wrong? His voice was gentle and warm. It felt as if we were still at that stage when we were most passionately in love with each other. As I listened to his concerned voice, my tears began to flow uncontrollably. Even at this moment, he still appeared to love me. Yet, this was the very person who had betrayed me moments later. He stopped in front of me, standing at 6 feet 2 inches. He was considerably tall. Although he exercised regularly, he was not heavily built. His well-proportioned physique gave a strong sense of security. He reached out to wipe away my tears, softly comforting me. Did our boy make you angry again? My voice trembled and became choked. No. Shane wanted to press on, but I didn't want to hear it any longer. I saw the chat records in the group. I blurted out. Shane's large hand left my cheek. What group? Through my flowing tears, I glared at him. Was he really going to keep playing dumb at this point? I unknowingly raised my voice, nearly shouting, "The happy family group you and Luna Sider are in." As though he couldn't bear seeing me upset, Shane stepped closer and embraced me, gently patting my back. "Honey, please try to calm down." I felt high-strung physically and mentally, like a bowstring ready to snap at any moment. Shane explained. That group was something Zach insisted on creating. But how did Zach get to know Luna? What experiences had he shared with Luna? And how deep was their bond that it had reached the point where he called her mom? Shane was only trying to shift the blame. He had never considered how he was the root of all this. I shut my eyes. Shane. Calling his name drained me of all my strength. I read the whole chat. "Don't take me for a fool, okay?" Shane fell silent after hearing no response from him for a long time. I turned to go back to the bedroom, however. Shane hugged me from behind right then. "I'm sorry." I stopped in my tracks. Shane carefully chose his words. "This is mainly my fault. I should have acted within reason. I only thought about how tired you must be taking care of the child every day. I wanted to help share the burden." Not finding time to spend with me and the child for even a day, yet always managing to squeeze in time to play around with another woman. Was that his idea of sharing the burden? I struggled hard trying to break free from his embrace, however Shane refused to let go. "But I didn't think you would mind. It's my fault. I promise I won't contact her again. I'll leave the group with Zach. I'll also delete her from my and Zach's contacts. Erilyn, please won't you give me another chance? I promise to take good care of you from now on. I will also keep my distance from other women." Shane's voice gradually grew somewhat pitiful. "For the sake of our years together and our son, Erilyn, please don't abandon me." As I listened to his pitiful tone filled with fear of abandonment, I couldn't help but think of Zach. He was so young. He didn't understand anything yet, but after spending only some time with Luna, he was already showing signs of being led astray. Coupled with Luna's deliberate indulgence, he was frequently hospitalized, and if I divorced Shane and let him and Luna be together, Zach would likely have to suffer in the days ahead. And so, I could only compromise. "Okay." It was incredibly difficult for me to answer him even though I only uttered one word. Upon hearing this, Shane grasped my waist with his large hands, forcing me to turn around. I looked up at him as Shane cupped my face, his eyes filled with the joy of having regained something lost. He then kissed me. Even though the issue had been resolved, Zach's betrayal still felt like a thorn stabbing at my heart. Before I had completely forgotten about this incident, I didn't want to have any intimate contact with Shane. I turned my head away to dodge his kiss. The next second, I was suddenly lifted off the ground. The sudden feeling of weightlessness made me feel insecure, and I instinctively clung to Shane. Shane chuckled and asked, "Are you still angry?" I didn't deny it. "I need time." Shane's magnetic voice had a seductive tone. "I'll perform well tonight. Can I ask for leniency?" Usually I couldn't resist such signals of reconciliation, but this time I wasn't in the mood. Shane seemed to know my answer. However, he didn't give me any chance to refuse as he tossed me onto the soft sheets. I had just thought about getting up when he immediately pinned me down. Seeing this, I pushed against his chest with both hands, trying to stop him from what he might do next. However, Shane held both my wrists with one hand and pinned them above my head. He was so strong that I couldn't break free. Shane's other hand pinched my chin, forcing me not to evade, and then his lips pressed down on mine. "You'll like it." Zach was in the senior class of kindergarten. School started at 8 a.m. every day. It took about 20 minutes to drive to the kindergarten. To avoid being late, he would leave home at 7:30 a.m. every day. I, on the other hand, got up at 6:30 a.m. to cook breakfast. Today's breakfast was a bit simpler. It was ravioli that I prepared last night. The broth was the troublesome part. I needed to simmer fresh chicken broth. I lay bay leaves at the bottom of the ceramic pot, placed a whole clean chicken inside, and finally placed a few sprigs of thyme on top. I then covered it and turned the heat to high. Once the water boiled, I lifted the lid, and the rich aroma of chicken broth wafted up to greet me. After adding a bit of salt, I turned the heat down to simmer. Now that I was done with this, I happily left the kitchen and went to the dressing room to help the boys pick out clothes for the day. Shane was the CEO of the company, so he dressed quite formally. Zach, being a kid, wore clothes where comfort and convenience were most important. Once I finished pairing the outfits, I put the clothes in their respective bedrooms. Shane and Zach were just about done washing up. Since I had time, I ladled out the chicken broth and started cooking the ravioli. The chicken broth was already hot, so it was easy to bring it to a boil. After I added enough ravioli for 3 people into the pot, I quietly waited for the ravioli to cook. "Mom!" Hearing Zach's angry voice, I turned around and saw him charging toward me with the tablet in his arms. He furiously demanded, "Did you delete Ms. Luna's number and leave the group?" I looked at his youthful face, which was unusually lively because of his anger, and shook my head. I didn't. But I understood Zach well. Although he was too young to be able to distinguish right from wrong, Luna's willingness to indulge him and let him eat and play freely made her the person he liked the most. Even though we adults cut off his contact with Luna for his own good, he definitely wouldn't be able to just accept it. I had already mentally prepared myself to face his anger. Still, I didn't expect what he said to be so hurtful. Who else would do that? Zach glared at me with red eyes. "No wonder they all say Dad doesn't like you. A woman like you who likes to control others' lives, and every move doesn't deserve anyone's affection." Even though I had anticipated that he would say some extreme things out of an emotional outburst, I told myself that as a mother, I should be understanding. But I still overestimated myself. His words were like sharp arrows, effortlessly breaking through the defenses in my heart and piercing deep within. It turned out that my son thought I was such a detestable person. My hands trembled uncontrollably as I asked, "If Dad doesn't like me, who does he like?" Zach puffed his cheeks angrily. "Of course it's Ms. Luna. He said it himself. He has liked Ms. Luna for a long time." "Really?" My mind went blank. "How do you know this?" Zach looked at me with his head tilted. "Dad told me, of course. Why would he take me to play with Ms. Luna every time otherwise?" His naivety made his innocent and straightforward inquiry even more hurtful. Indeed, if Shane didn't like Luna, he wouldn't be in contact with her. And yet, their recent interactions had been terrifyingly frequent. Shane's feelings for Luna were evident. It felt like a huge hand was tightly gripping my heart. I was instantly filled with a sharp pain. Dad must really like Ms. Luna. The way he looks at Ms. Luna is different from how he looks at you. Dad said that the reason he doesn't want a divorce is that he's afraid I'll end up becoming a child from a single-parent family like you. It wouldn't be good for my psychological growth. He's also worried that you would cling to him and end up hurting others when you lose control. I looked at Zach. He was only 5 years old, speaking in a cute, childish tone that was nothing short of innocent. However, the things he said were incredibly extreme and hurtful. I desperately comforted myself, telling myself that he only said these things because he was upset. Even so, I couldn't stop my hands from shaking. The ravioli was cooked then. As the aroma wafted into my nose, I forced myself not to think about this innocent talk. I started serving him a bowl of ravioli. Afraid it would burn him, I placed the bowl on the table. "Go ahead and dig in." However, Zach picked up the bowl from the table with both hands and slammed it down onto the floor. Clang! The porcelain bowl shattered into pieces. There was chicken broth and ravioli everywhere. "Zach Pierce, there's a limit to throwing tantrums. Have you forgotten the manners I taught you?" I was also getting angry. Our eyes met, and neither of us backed down. Not getting the result he wanted, Zach disgruntledly pushed me away. He cried as he left, "I don't need you to teach me. I hate you." He wasn't strong, but I was still pushed off balance, nearly falling over. I watched Zach's retreating figure in disbelief. We had always gotten along well, but because he was still young and his thinking wasn't mature enough, he would say and do the wrong things. Although it occasionally hurt me, I would calm down and later tell him what he had done wrong. He would then understand how to correct himself. Usually at times like this, he would come over and wrap his little arms around my neck, cooing, "Mom, I shouldn't have said that just now. I made you sad, didn't I? I'll remember to never say it again." Then, he would gently nuzzle his face against mine. But now, I steadied myself against the stove, but drops of tears fell uncontrollably. Why had he turned out this way? Was there really something wrong with how I raised him? I seriously reflected on myself and how I used to be overly strict with him. Since Zach was just a child, he didn't understand that everything I did was for his own good. He only felt oppressed. Luna's reckless indulgence just happened to make him feel relaxed. He was slowly being influenced. Gradually, he was moving away from me and getting closer to Luna. Would our relationship improve if I were to lower my expectations of him in the future? I took another bowl from the rack. Zach's breakfast was all over the floor. Shane hadn't eaten yet. I didn't thoughtfully serve the ravioli in advance as I usually did. Instead, I placed the empty bowl on the table and sat beside it. I had to admit my emotions were a mess at this very moment. Shane paused when he sat down and saw the empty bowl. "What's wrong?" I held back my emotions, which were on the verge of erupting, and replied, "Yesterday, I left the group and deleted Luna's contact. Zach got really upset and threw his meal. I guess he doesn't feel like eating what I made today. You can just take him to school for breakfast." Shane nodded in agreement. "Okay." He then got up to serve himself some ravioli. "Don't be upset, honey. There's no need to argue with a child." As I looked at him, Zach's words echoed in my ears. I opened my mouth, wanting to ask him what was going on. But then I stopped. If he questioned me later, how could I explain that I took what our son said in anger seriously? How would I respond? But if I didn't ask anything, I would feel stifled. With frustration building up inside me, I finally mentioned, "About yesterday." "Don't worry." Shane seemed to know what I was concerned about. He smiled and raised his hand, ruffling my hair over the table. "Since I promised you, I'll handle it well." Hearing his reassuring response, I finally felt a bit relieved. "That's good. Let's eat." Once he cut off contact with Luna, I would also try to act as if his feelings had never wavered. He was still my loving husband and a devoted father. After all, we used to be a happy family. After Shane finished his meal, he went to the bedroom to call Zach for school. Zach came out dressed. When he saw me, he huffed and turned away, sulking as he took Shane's hand and stormed off to the door. Meanwhile, Shane stood at the door and said goodbye to me. Like every other day, they left. I was left alone at home. My task was to repeat the same boring routine of cleaning up the mess they left behind. The shattered bowl on the floor, the scattered ravioli, the broth that had spilled everywhere, the used empty bowls on the table, and the dirty laundry from yesterday. After finishing the chores, I finally started mopping the floor, moving from the living room to the bedroom, and then to the study. As I pushed open the study door, I saw a photo and 2 opened letters on the desk. It was an old photo of Luna looking youthful and vibrant. The letter on the left was in Shane's familiar handwriting. He had only written 2 sentences. "Luna, even though you hurt me deeply when you betrayed me, I would forgive you. As long as you're willing to reconcile with me, I can cancel the wedding with Erilyn immediately." Boom! My mind went blank. Did Shane write Luna this letter on the eve of our wedding? The other letter was Luna's reply to him. "I'm sending back your letter with mine. Shane, I am happy now. I hope you wish me happiness. And please don't contact me in the future. I'm afraid my husband will misunderstand." After I read these 2 letters, I could connect almost all the information in a way that made sense. Luna was clearly Shane's first love. And yet Shane hated Luna so much. I subconsciously tightened my grip on the mop. So it was because Luna had once betrayed Shane. However, he convinced himself not to dwell on the mistakes Luna had made or the hurt she had caused him. All he wanted was for her to return to him. Unfortunately, Luna still rejected him. It was only at this moment that I finally understood why he was so emotional when his friends mentioned Luna at our wedding. But what about now? Why did he bring out these 2 letters? Was he trying to remind himself of Luna's heartlessness and resolve to keep his distance from her from now on? Was he determined to live a life with me? Or was he afraid he would risk everything and bear the disgrace of abandoning his wife, only to end up still being rejected by Luna? I closed my eyes. I was in so much pain I could faint. Maybe it was as Zach said, that Luna was the only one Shane loved. That was why when he considered a future with Luna, he never thought about how much harm one of his choices could cause me. I stood in the study for a long time. It was when my phone rang that my numbed heart seemed to finally regain its senses. I pressed the answer button without thinking. "Honey." Over the phone, Shane's voice seemed to become even deeper and more charming. He was gentle as always when he asked me, "What are you doing?" Shane was always thoughtful and generous like this in front of me. He was afraid that I might feel uneasy being alone in this unfamiliar city. He was tolerant of me in every way. Even his tone when speaking to me was soft and careful. By all rights, I should be satisfied with this. But now, every time I heard his voice, I was reminded that I had traveled thousands of miles to be with him. While I was looking forward to the moment we would walk into the wedding hall together, he was desperately pleading for his first love to choose him again. Perhaps he would even complain to his friends that my arrival had interrupted his reconciliation with Luna. "Why aren't you speaking?" Shane asked. He seemed surprised when he didn't hear my reply. I didn't know how to face Shane anymore, but clearly it would seem odd for me to remain silent at this moment. Looking at the photo and the letters on the table, I answered, "I'm mopping the floor." "I called to remind you." Shane paused for a moment before continuing. "There are important confidential business documents on the desk. You don't need to clean the study. I'll take care of it when I get back." In the past, I would have laughed and teased him, asking, "Is it something even I can't see?" But now the words wouldn't come out. After a long pause, I managed to say just one word. "Okay." After Shane hung up, I took the mop and exited his study. Why didn't he want me to see the 2 letters? Was he afraid I would be sad to learn he wasn't sincere when he married me? Or was he afraid I would find out that Luna was the one he loved all along? Or perhaps, he was secretly planning to dump me to become a real family of 4 with Luna and the children. The more I thought about it, the colder my heart felt. For the first time, I realized that the affectionate couple we had been for so many years might just be an illusion. Ding dong. Hearing the doorbell, I snapped back to reality and glanced at the clock hanging on the wall. It was already time for Shane to get off work. I got up to open the door. However, Zach was nowhere to be seen. I was puzzled. Usually when Shane got off work, he would pick up Zach along the way. "Where's Zach?" "He's still sulking. He said he doesn't want to come home," Shane replied as he stepped closer to hug me. "I thought it would be nice for us to have some time alone, so I took him back to Mom's." He rested his chin on my shoulder and purred in a somewhat spoiled tone. "Honey." I didn't know how to react. Once the seed of doubt was sown, it would take root and sprout in one's heart. When we had just gotten married, he seemed to love me very much. But at that time, he was still thinking about Luna. Even now, he appeared to be deeply affectionate toward me. But I couldn't help but wonder whether he truly loved me now, or if he was just acting. Shane's hand rested on my belly, gently rubbing it. I came to my senses. Shane tentatively asked, "What if we have another child?" I froze at that. "Why?" "I thought about a lot of things after I went to the company today," Shane explained leisurely. "I used to really like Luna, but now that she's back, and I reconnected with her, I still think I'm happiest with you." I instinctively turned to look into Shane's eyes. He didn't look like he was lying, judging from the solemnness of his expression. I hesitated. "If that's the case, focus on me, and let's live well together." Shane cupped my face with both hands, smiling as he kissed my lips. "I talked to Zach on the way here. He said he wanted a younger sibling. You know how it's my dream to have 2 children. So, honey, please don't refuse me, okay?" His gaze was incredibly tender, tempting me, making it hard for me to say no. We already had a son. If we had another daughter, he would focus on building a life with me, and Zach would become more understanding and obedient as he took on the responsibilities of an older brother. Everything would fall into place. I was tempted by the picture of such a beautiful future, and so I nodded. Seeing me agree to it, Shane wrapped one arm around my waist and pulled the back of my neck with the other hand before kissing me insistently. I closed my eyes and endured it. At the same time, I silently convinced myself that we would still be an ordinary family. After all, Shane hadn't really cheated, and he was willing to draw a line with Luna. As for Zach, I would patiently guide him, helping him gradually change for the better. Ring ring. The clear ringtone of a phone shattered the intimate atmosphere. Shane didn't even look at who was calling. He just wanted to turn off his phone and toss it aside. But I caught a glimpse of the name on the screen, and my blood seemed to freeze. I pushed him away forcefully. "It's Luna. Didn't he say he would block all of Luna's contact information? How could Luna still contact him?" Hearing that, Shane didn't look at me as he immediately turned to grab his phone. "Shane, what are we going to do?" "Zach is in the hospital because of a bad stomach,"